But I did know that whatever the prednisone was doing, it was helping. And when I would go back to the doctor with his little jackleg self, he was just, you feeling good? Okay, just keeping it going. And like I said, don't blame me. I don't think even now we're all using Google to diagnose ourselves, and we're using it to be medical researchers, and sometimes incorrectly. But we should still leave these things to the experts. Back then, we didn't even have Google, and so some people say, "You didn't know?" No, I didn't. And some things you didn't know back then either. So anyway, but how did I get there? That's how it started. And at the time, there was a weight loss classes we were doing at the church. My dad pastored a church, and very progressive back then. He'd bring in financial advisors and health and just different things about life, money. And so some health classes were taken. We even had an aerobics class that some of the members of the church were teaching, and everybody was losing weight with Tracy.
Welcome to Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, where we get VIP access into the lives of Black women, or as we like to call us here, our Sister Nistas. We get to hear from some of our favorite Sister Nistas as they share their worlds with us and create connections, exchange realities, ideas, and baby, we get to recognize and celebrate how powerful we really are. Our sisterhood here is real, filled with peace, wisdom, hope, love, light, and laughter. You know, the kind you can feel, the kind of encouragement that confirms we can do anything because we have, and the kind of inspiration that proves we can be even greater. This is our world, where if you ain't a Black woman, you may want to be one, or definitely get to know one. It's a Black women's world, and we welcome our Sister Nista lovers too. Welcome to our queendom. I'm your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and I'm your host, TracyMac. Come on in and relax and sit with me for just a little while. Peace.
Well, hey, y'all. I'm TracyMac, your self-discovery companion and the professional peacemaker and host of Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, baby. Welcome to the queendom where the Sister Nista spirit vibes and thrives. And if you don't know what a Sister Nista is, let me tell you in short. A Sister Nista is a Black woman who knows she is enough already. She embodies excellence and authenticity, moxie, and class unapologetically. And you know what? She also knows she is imperfect, no matter how beautiful that is. So you may be a Sister Nista. And if you're not a Sister Nista, we welcome you too. You are a Sister Nista lover. Because a Sister Nista is not about being anti anyone else. It's simply about being pro-Black woman. And when you love us, that automatically includes you too. So again, welcome to the queendom. Listen, I do not have my two dynamic co-hosts with me today. As a matter of fact, I think it is a miracle just about every time we are able to get together to record the show, because all three of us have multiple businesses that we run. We're all entrepreneurs. We're wives and mothers, friends, daughters who have aging parents in two of our cases, and our lives can get very complex and busy. So every time they are here with me, I count it a blessing because I really, really love my cousin, Javon Cookie Jones, and one of my dearest best friends, Dina Hamilton. She's also my soror. We are members of the best sorority on the planet. There is none greater than Delta Sigma Theta. And I'm proud to be a member of the ACE Club. But anyway, today I want to talk to you about something. It forces me to be vulnerable. And I don't know if you're just listening to me or maybe you're watching on YouTube. We do have TracyMac BWWP YouTube channel for most of our season 2 episodes, where you can not only hear us, but you can also see us. So if you're not a member or haven't subscribed to that, please go over there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you really want a daily connection with us, come on over and join the Facebook group. It's Black Women's World Podcast group on Facebook. We give daily inspiration inspiration and encouragement and everything that vibes in the tribe for Sister Nistas and Sister Nista lovers. So you are welcome to come over there and join us too. But today I want to talk to you about something that's very near and dear to me. I want to be very candid and open because I want to talk to you about, and the title of this show is She's Still Fat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's still fat. And I'm talking about me. Now, those of us who have struggled with our weight for years, please don't take any offense to what I'm going to say, because you can't be offended about me talking about me. I'm just talking about me today. So if the shoe fits, then you can put it on and wear it. And if it doesn't, just turn on and walk away. But I'm talking about me. You just happen to be listening. So I'm going to be very vulnerable and very candid. As a matter of fact, when I think about vulnerability, I recently did a show with LaTanya Jr., world-renowned LaTanya Jr., and we talked about vulnerability. And when I started talking to her, I was like, LaTanya, I know vulnerability is a strength. And she took me a step further, and I won't tell it right now, because she said it's also a strategy. And baby, she began to break that thing down. And I was like, I'm glad you're here. So you got to listen to that show with LaTanya Jr. called Vulnerability, the Strength and the Strategy of Vulnerability. But when I first started thinking about vulnerability, Brene Brown comes to mind. Even though before I read her books, she has one called Daring Greatly, and then the other one, I think The Power of Vulnerability. And I read Daring Greatly, and I think I have The Power of Vulnerability on Audible, and I haven't listened to it yet. I probably got 55 million books on Audible that, I started listening to and haven't finished. That's even being vulnerable, because as an author, you want people to read your whole book, but you download them and you listen to them, then another one comes, another comes. So I finished Daring Greatly, but I need to go back and listen to The Power of Vulnerability. But when LaTanya Jr. brought it up, and she put it in such a succinct manner and style, how she does, and she breaks it down simply. And after we recorded that show, a few weeks later, I began to have to own even the more being vulnerable. And when it comes to a health journey, I have had issues with my weight most of my life. I have had challenges, weight challenges. And I just began to think about that there's so many other people who have those challenges. And whether it is a health and weight journey, or a financial journey, a career journey, a relationship journey, journeys have a tendency to have some of the same dynamics. So I hope that when I'm talking about me during this episode of She's Still Fat, that maybe you can find some things about you that will resonate to inspire and encourage, because that's what the BWP is all about. We just happen to cater to Black women who are Sister Nistas, and to those who love us, our Sister Nista lovers. So jump on in here with me if you can. I remember, how did I get here? How did I get to the point where weight became an issue? Because when I was growing up, I was a little girl. I was a little skinny, little olive oil looking little girl, little legs. Uh, everything was just I was just And, as you begin to develop and puberty begins to happen, certain areas grow and whatever. I wasn't ever one to have large breasts or whatever. As a matter of fact, I'm being very vulnerable in the strength and the strategy of vulnerability. When I was in high school, one guy was like, you don't have any, you ain't got no titties. You just got two backs. And I mean, that bothered me so bad. And when I started working and making my own money, buy my own clothes, back then, JC Penney's had padded plus bras. And don't you know, I went and bought me a 32 AA padded plus bra from JC Penney's. And then I went back and bought another one, because at least they gave me a little bump, gave me a little something. But what I never had a problem with, or should I say it was an issue to me, was hips and thighs and backside. But it was also, it may have been attractive to males, but it was an issue for me because it drew the wrong kind of attention. And so I began to, cover that up. So I would wonder, how did I get here, this point where, weight became an issue? Because it wasn't an issue all the time. When I went to college, I was a little more round than some of the other girls or whatever. But I just began to wonder, everybody's journey, you kind of got to figure out how you started, what happened, and why before you can begin to fix it. And one of the things that started my issues with weight was sickness. I had gotten very sick, and you can go to other podcasts and listen. On one in particular, I talk about hell and high water, where I talk about some of the things I went through, and not to get into the details of going to the weeds about that. because this time I want to specifically talk about weight. And I was prescribed a medication called prednisone. Prednisone is a steroid that's prescribed for many different things, many different reasons. But I was prescribed an incorrect dosage for an extended amount of time incorrectly. And the internet wasn't then what it is now. You're talking about back in the early 90s. And I just began to gain a lot of weight. As a matter of fact, I had met my husband, Owen, that April of 1991. And we both were dating other people at the time. And so it was something how we became friends or whatever. And then we decided to start dating. I started gaining weight. And I had been taking the prednisone and I gained 70 pounds. Yes, that's 70 pounds, 70 pounds in 9 months, the year of our wedding. So by the time we got engaged to the date of our wedding, I had gained about 70 pounds. And he was still interested in the sister. You hear me? Hey, hey. But that was a lot for me because I was having to buy clothes just about every week or every month. I mean, it just seemed like it was so frequent. I can't even remember. It felt like every week because it was a church service, an event, going to work, and whatever. My clothes just kept getting tighter. And they would briefly make you aware of side effects, but I don't think back then you got the long sheets where you saw the definite side effects. But I did know that whatever the prednisone was doing, it was helping. And when I would go back to the doctor with his little jackleg self, he was just, you feeling good? Okay, just keeping it going. And like I said, don't blame me. I don't think even now we're all using Google to diagnose ourselves, and we're using it to be medical researchers, and sometimes incorrectly, but we should still leave these things to the experts. But back then we didn't even have Google. And so some people say, you didn't know? No, I didn't. And some things you didn't know back then either. So anyway, but how did I get there? That's how it started. And at the time, there was a weight loss classes we were doing at the church. My dad pastored a church and very progressive back then. He'd bring in financial advisors and health and just different things about life, money. And so some health classes were taken. We even had an aerobics class that some of the members of the church were teaching, and everybody was losing weight but Tracy. Everybody was losing weight but me. And then, look, I was still gaining weight because I was still on the medication. But that was one of the reasons. The other reasons was because when you think about why you are heavy or why you haven't gotten your financial game straight or your career game straight, sometimes we have to own up to it, being vulnerable. Remember the strength and the strategy of vulnerability. Sometimes we got to own up to what have some of the benefits been, because there are benefits. Dr. Phil will always say, how's that working for you? Sometimes we do things that just don't seem like they're working for us, but you don't do anything that's in some way is beneficial. Because once it stops benefiting you in some way, it's just human nature and behavioral protocol to stop. And so I had to think, because I had gotten up to 307 pounds at my highest weight. And I began to think, what am I getting from this? My back hurt. I was having, when I was traveling, speaking, all over the place, I was having to buy 2 seats sometimes. If I couldn't get the aisle seat, I'd buy 2 seats. I'd have to ask for the seatbelt extender, and there go that darn stewardess. Let me tell y'all, airline steward is something now. I don't know if you've learned, because it's been probably about 4 years, of maybe, no, 6 actually by now, since I have needed a seatbelt extender. Be a little quiet and have a little more decorum when you see someone come on board and you already know they may need to ask for one. But when they do ask for one, you don't have to be loud, sugar or brother. You don't have to be loud. I remember one time I was flying and I motioned to the stewardess, I put my little finger up, those of you can see me, I got my finger up like I'm leaving church, and I said, I need a seatbelt extender. What did you say, ma'am? I need a seat. Oh, I'll have your seatbelt extender coming right up. I could have smacked the fire out of her, but I didn't. I just waited. She gave my seatbelt extender. I put it on. But you know what? On my flight back, I didn't even ask for one. I was so humiliated that I just pulled the seatbelt and tucked it and really pulled my fat over it so they could see it. And when the stewardess walked by that time, I just gave the look like, don't you ask me nothing. Don't even try it. Do not ask me nothing. So she caught the hell from the other one, just don't even. She seemed like she started to, but I just peered in and gave her that look. But so it was the having to buy the two seats, having to couldn't find clothes because at that size, anything petite wasn't going shapely. It was just becoming more and more square because I'm short. The stores not having your size or either having to shop on one side of the store. There is a store I used to love to go to. I won't name the name because I don't want any negativity because the store still exists, but they had a plus size section and then they grew to a plus size side. And one day I walked in and they had two doors, one that led to the smaller size clothes and one that led to the larger size clothes. And I walked in the smaller size door because that's the direction I had come from. And one of the sales ladies said, "Ma'am, the plus size section is over there." Now you got to be careful how you treat people. But just those things that just were like just horrible experiences. And I was like, oh my God. And so people wonder, well, why don't you change? Number one, change is not easy. Change is not easy. But I'm going to tell you, one of the things that helped me change was figuring out what were the benefits that I was getting. What were some of the benefits that I was like, it's worth it. And it didn't dawn on me until I was going to therapy. I started going to therapy in 2004. So even though it's trendy now, some of us went through the struggle of being rejected, talked about, criticized because we were doing it when it wasn't popular, when the celebrities weren't advocating it. But for whatever reason, thank God for it being advocated now, for it being more acceptable, and for the stigma to be diminishing just a little bit. But back then, I was going to therapy, and it took going to therapy for me to realize one of the reasons why I had not done anything consistent, because I'd lose weight, gain weight, shoot, I probably gained and lost thousands of pounds. You try every diet, you do slim fast, you do keto, you do the grapefruit diet, you try this challenge, you do this contest, and you gain, you lose, you gain, you lose over time. But one of the things I realized during therapy is one of the benefits was it was camouflage for me because I had sexual harassment and sexual assault. And both of those situations, and even some that I wouldn't really put in the category of harassment or assault, but I say uncomfortable flirting, those situations stemmed from my shape being appealing. And so I felt like, and this was unconsciously, that the heavier I got, the less appealing I felt I was becoming, and people wouldn't look. They would not stare in a certain way or make comments or expect certain things from me. And that works sometimes because some people are still attracted no matter what size you are, because when you got it going on, you just got it going on. But anyway, it minimized it. You didn't get as many looks. You didn't get as many cat calls, So I used my weight as a camouflage. So I'm still talking about the vulnerability and the strength and the strategy. So I'm being vulnerable with you first so I can help you understand the strength and the strategy. But it was a camouflage, and it felt like a protective barrier in more ways than one. And also, no one was threatened. In certain times of my life, I dealt with and communicated with and had friends who were musicians in several different areas. One of my friends, rest in peace, Cornell Thigpen, he was a musician for everybody, from Mary J to Shaka Khan to Babyface and Mr. Big. He worked with Ron Isley at some point in time. But anyway, it was not uncommon for me to be around guys more than girls. I think it had to do a lot with my upbringing. My brother, he and I hung around more than me and my sister did, and so I was just always cool with guys. I was never impressed by dudes. A guy could walk in the room and I'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" I just had this ability to neuter guys, so I wasn't impressed. But in that, I also realized that the heavier I got, the less of a threat I was to women. Because these guys had girlfriends, some of them had wives, and oh, Tracy, the big girl, okay, no problem. Let's just get the music. Let's just let the music play. It was no big deal. I was no threat. And I felt more free to communicate, to hang out. There were times when we traveled, especially if you've ever known of or been a part of a broke band and you got to travel together and you can only afford one or two hotel rooms. Or sometimes you got to sleep in the van or the car that you're rolling in, so it would be times we'd have one hotel room and we'd all be in the same hotel room. No problem. That they may not work now and it may not work for everybody, but that's just what happened then. And thank God nothing negative happened in those spaces. The sexual harassment and the sexual assault that I had happened prior to all of that stuff. But we were just comfortable. So I seemed like I was less of a threat. So I could move freely. I could hang out. We could be late at jam sessions and rehearsals and like I said, traveling. So it was less of a threat. So I began to realize that those were some of the benefits that I was seeing. Being overweight or morbidly obese was working in my favor. But it wasn't until some years passed that, you just get sick, literally, figuratively, physically, emotionally, financially. When medical bills, medications, doctor visits begin to sap your money in more ways than one, sap your time because you got to take off work, you got to go in the hospital. You're going to have FMLA at work, and maybe some of your coworkers will give you leave, maybe some of them won't. And my weight was not the only health issue I had, but it was the main health issue I had that led into a whole lot of things.
An Amazon best-selling author with an Art Book Club Incorporated 5-star rating and your self-discovery companion, TracyMac is setting positive change ablaze with her 3 incredible books. Looking for an interactive resource that reveals how to strategically overcome obstacles that can hinder you from developing your purpose and consistently enjoy the limitless benefits of living your best life? Well, grab your copy of TracyMac's book, The Book of Purpose, The You Testament. Through true stories, real-world examples, and thought-provoking questions and principles, you can make your best dreams a reality and achieve big goals that sustain peace in your life. Your solution has arrived. If you are ready to live an amazing life of change with sustainable results and measurable success, get your copy of one or all 3 of these awesome books where fine books are sold today to start your journey.
You've been listening to Black Women's World Podcast.
So the first thing I did in 2009, after years of losing and gaining, I decided to have a lap band surgery and had the lap band surgery. It was successful. And I lost 60 pounds, 60-ish pounds in about 4 or 5 months. And, I was like, okay, you start, letting everybody see you, you buying smaller clothes, you hanging out a little more, you feeling a little free. And all of a sudden I started having issues with blockage. And one issue after another, hiatal hernias. They did surgery and repaired the hiatal hernia. And then it happened again, more blockages and whatever. And one thing after another, and it came to a point where just the band was just not working. So they deflated it and took it out. And I gained all that weight back plus 10 pounds. Can you imagine how it feels to lose weight and be proud of it, and then to gain it all back plus some and have to face the very same people? Some of them believed in you, some of them didn't, and realized you could be right back, oh, she ain't gonna lose it for long. How hurtful that must be. But I'm gonna tell you, there's a lesson in everything, because a lot of times you want people to change so they'll act right, but sometimes allow people to be themselves. When you allow people to be themselves, who they are is revealed in a way that will allow you to staff your life accordingly and change your behavior. You get what I'm saying? So I was able to not only see me for who I was, because one thing I didn't do, even though you had to get a psychological evaluation back then, one thing I didn't do, I never changed my mindset. I never changed my mindset as to knowing my why. I didn't change my mindset as to learning how to eat right. I was just restricted by the band. I didn't exercise. I didn't do anything. So when they took the band out, did that surgery and repaired the hernia, I still went back to the same old eating habits as before. And because I had been without and restricted for so long, it just kept happening. And it came on so fast. And it reminded me of 1990 all over again. I was in that cycle, even though the first time it was prednisone, this time it was Tracy's own. Tracy had been making the same wrong decisions. And it took me getting tired and choosing to become vulnerable. I can't do this by myself. I know my whys, but I still don't have the strength to overcome. And let me tell you, it may seem odd, it may not seem related, but I'm gonna tell you, it was relatable for me. Self-discovery helped save my life. Because the more I began to know who I was and know who I am as a person, the more I was able to get my mind healthy. Because let me tell you, baby, it starts in the mind. It starts with your mind, whether it's your money, whether it's your career, whether it's your relationships or your weight. Oh, for goodness sake, I even wrote a poem. I wish I had thought to bring it today, that I wrote a poem some time ago. Oh, for goodness sake, my weight, my weight, my weight. Because I never got the mind right. I never had the mind strength and strategies and admitting the problem. Admitting the problem was me. Yeah, prednisone was a problem one time, and it may have started the cycle, but it wasn't the only problem. Because even some of the side effects of prednisone is increased appetite. Maybe sometimes I felt like I could eat the curtains. It was just this ravenous feeling that I had this insatiable hunger, and I didn't know that that's what it was. And so that built a habit. So even though I didn't eat a lot, I ate the wrong things at the wrong times all the time. Sweets. I was a carb addict. Sugar, cakes, pies, cookies, and I still love those things. I nicknamed my daughter Warm Cake because that's what she felt like to me when she was first born. But it's still a food. I was like, dang. But I mean, it was just the feeling. And then, we have, at least in the African American community or the Black community, any rural community, and any people of color, whether it be Black, Indigenous, any people of color, and any people who live in, you come together in fellowship around foods. And the reason why I say rural and people, because most of the time it's around the wrong foods. I can only speak for myself. Remember, I'm not coming at you. I'm only talking about TracyMac, being vulnerable with you. But we fellowship around the wrong foods. And so we, in our way of giving, because that was a lot of times, I know with me, my grandparents and great grandparents, sometimes all they had to give was their bounty of food that they grew from their garden. And when the family would come together, my grandmother, several years, sometimes she would buy one pack of socks that had 8 in it and break that pack up and give each grandchild a pack of socks. And that wasn't long ago. I ain't that old. I'm 52. So people that think that, anyway, I don't want to get into that on this show, but they were that poor, but yet they were rich. They were rich. They didn't seem poor, but my grandmother didn't have the money to buy all of her grandchildren a big Christmas gift. And then when she couldn't give the sock, she made wonderful yeast rolls. Javon and I have talked about that on another episode about our grandmother's roll recipe. She served the community with her rolls. And so one Christmas, we got yeast rolls and cupcakes for Christmas. That was it. And I remember there was a period of time where my family didn't celebrate Christmas. And the only thing we had was Christmas dinner. And then when you went to church and did your your Christmas speech, or were involved in the Christmas play, you got a little brown paper bag that had an apple, an orange, some of that ribbon candy that was all stuck together, and different kind of nuts, assorted nuts were on the bottom of the bag, but it was still food. So a way of giving to people and a way of giving to myself, and I still do it. I just do it with much more control, and I try to make as healthier habits a choice and make better choices. But I have lost 125 pounds because after that lap band journey of having it on and then it coming off and gaining all the weight, I was so tired of being overweight. I was still traveling extensively. I was still having to ask for a seatbelt extender every time I flew. I was having to stop and shift because I had problems with my back and so many other things. And I'm not even going to go into all the medications I was on, but it was for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, so many different weight related things. And I was just tired. And I began to see my daughter gain weight. And I thought, and I said, you know what? I have to do this for me so she will see. I never did it for her because I have to be my why. You have to be your why all the time, because if people are your why, people will come and go. And then you will be just kind of yo-yoing yourself based on the people in your life. So I had to be my why so she could see, because I did not want her. I had read a statistic that young girls who are obese after puberty stand a 50% chance of being obese for the rest of their life. And she was teetering on 10, 11 years old. And I said, if I can keep her from being obese before she hits puberty, then I've done something, hopefully. And so, but I had to do it for myself first. I had to do it to get off the medications. I wanted to travel more. I wanted to go different places. I wanted to stop being sick. I was tired of giving my money away to the doctors for medication, treatments, and the like. You know, tired of having to take off work, being in the hospital a week, then getting out, then having this issue. And most of them were weight related. I still have some physical issues and illnesses, but none of them are weight related. And so I had to discover my own why. And so I'll tell you this also. I had been seeing the same physician for quite some time, and he knew of my weight journey. He knew of my health journey and my weight loss and my health gains. And so it was a joy whenever I go into his office and he'd see I lost a little more and a little more and a little more. Well, he retired. And I had to get another physician. And he recommended someone who I researched him, and very good physician. And I said, okay. And I went to him. And, you know, now physicians don't really even touch you for long. They're not, you know, after the PA or the nurse comes in and takes your vitals and the doctor comes in, it's usually on an average about 10 to 15 minutes. And so in the process, I guess he either chose not to or didn't have time to read my chart. And I had gone in to see him for a non-weight related issue. And he had the nerve to come out of his mouth and say, well, Miss McNeil, this will probably be better. Anything will be better if you just lose some weight, lose about 50 pounds because you're obese. So his bedside manner sucked. So I could have crawled in a hole like I had done in times past when someone had said something about my weight. But something allowed me to stand up, because in the journey, you build muscle, you build confidence. In the spirit of confidence, you know, it wasn't like I got to tell this joker off. I have to let him see who I am. I have to let him know who I am. And that way he will know not to do this to anyone else. So I said, I appreciate your observation, but to be sure, you have not read my chart. I said, if you would read my chart, you would see that in 2014-15, I was about 307 pounds, 307 pounds. I had lost over 125 pounds. So you don't see the work that I've done. So it will behoove you to look at a patient's chart and know their story, or at least ask them their story before you just go in on what they need to do. Because let me tell you something, sir, I will never be within that BMI weight range. And I don't have any damns to give about it, unapologetically. I know that there's a standard that is set, but I've got a standard for me that I know is as healthy as I can be. And that even at my height and this weight, you may see an unhealthy Black woman, but at my own, how's my blood pressure? How's my cholesterol? How's my insulin? I'm not on any of that anymore, any of that medication anymore. All my numbers are good. I just happen to still hold on to some weight. And so we had a conversation. He definitely apologized. I chose to seek another physician, thank God. But sometimes you got to teach people something. And thank God he was willing to learn, but he won't learn at my expense again. And so you just have to know who you are and stand up in it and celebrate your wins. It's been a journey. I choose to be vulnerable. I'll tell you this. I'm going to give you just a few things that I think will help you be vulnerable. And I'm vulnerable publicly on my social media pages. When I work out, most of the time, when I work out, I will post my workout. I have several accountability partners because what being vulnerable and using it as a strength and a strategy does is it gives me proof of a testament. Sometimes when people tell you their story, you only see the good side. They say, I went through this, this, and this. They skip the middle. And then all of a sudden they way up here. Oh yeah, I was down in the dumps. Yeah, I was broke. I was homeless, or I was didn't know what I was going to do with my life, or my relationship was down here. But now we're good, and they don't tell you nothing about that juicy stuff in between. And I wrote a book about that called Relationships, Nothing But the Truth, where it was some of the people were clients, some of them were friends and colleagues, even my parents, who their lives may be here now, but they were here at one time. And I interviewed them in a way to have them tell us the in between, because people learn from your in between. We've got another show coming up called Failing Failing Forward and Falling Up. Because sometimes people got to know what happened in between. And let me tell you some of my in between. I had to get up. I had to go to the gym and be embarrassed or feel embarrassed because nobody said anything negative to me. It was those voices in my head. Oh, they're looking at you. They're talking about you. And I had to shut those voices down because that negative self-talk will sabotage any mission you start out on. You'll fail before you get started if you let your mind start running, because the mouth in your mind is the one to contend with. You get that joker under control, the mouth on your faith will follow suit. So, I mean, it's just a wonderful thing. So I had to understand that me being vulnerable was a proof of my testament. If I didn't tell people where I was and allow them to be in on the process of where I am now, my testimony would be kind of shabby. Because I see people now, and this is no judgment. Some people put 1 or 2 weight loss pictures and they sell a weight loss book or weight loss program, and they may have only been overweight for 2 or 3 months, or maybe overweight after pregnancy. That's them, not me. But I got pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures. And the reason why I don't have more, because I used to ban people from taking pictures of me from the waist down, as if taking the picture was going to make the hips and booty go away. But I have so much proof. So I'm living proof that this journey, but it starts with self-discovery. It starts with learning to be vulnerable, choosing to be held accountable, because those things make it less likely for you to backslide. I know backslide is a term that people use in the church when they feel like you ain't living right no more. You can backslide. We ain't even gonna go into that today. But being accountable, all those type of things keep you from ruining your own testimony. So am I still a work in progress? Of course. And as the title of this episode, is she still fat? Some people may say yeah, but I have no damns to give about that either. Because I know the work that I have done. I know the journey that I'm on. I know the people who it inspires and encourages almost on a daily basis. And baby, I'm here to tell you the strength and the strategy is in my vulnerability. Is she still fat? That's up for you to decide. But what does she know is that she is a sister Nista, a Black woman who knows I am enough already, a Black woman who stands up in my vulnerability, in excellence, in authenticity, my moxie, and a whole lot of class. And you know what? I also know that I am imperfect, no matter how beautiful that is. So I'm your host, TracyMac. Hey, listen, come join us in the Facebook group. It's a private group. You can join us over there. And if you're only hearing me for this episode, you have an opportunity to see me along with the other episodes with my amazing 2 dynamic co-hosts, Javon Cookie Jones and Dana Hamilton. You can see us on our YouTube channel, TracyMac BWWP YouTube channel. Go over there, check out our videos, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram as well. But remember, baby, be beautiful. I always like to say, remember to be kind, to be excellent, to be authentic, to be generous, to be grateful. And while you're at it, go ahead and be extraordinary on purpose through mission with passion and compassion. I'm your host, TracyMac. Peace. Before you go, I forgot to share something. Listen, I call music my auditory medicine. Music was my first best friend, and it is still a best friend to me because music will communicate and talk through me and to me and for me and about me when my words just won't do. And I love music. So whether it be just before I have a client or even before I do a podcast, I always listen to a song that connects me to the title of the episode. And this particular episode, is she still fat? Or is somebody may be saying she's still fat? Let me tell you something. I like me. And the song, I'm going to drop the link down in the liner notes, is a song by Kurt Franklin called I Like Me. You know, they say, I like me. Do you like me? God likes me. If you don't like me, well, let me tell you what, I like you. And I had to stop singing before copyright and licensing stuff try to get me in trouble. But listen, you got to like you. I don't care what stage, phase of your journey you're on, be it a health journey like we talked about in this episode, or if it's a financial journey, a career journey, a relationship journey. Somebody always got something to say. She got a man yet? Has he got a job yet? Do they have that car yet? You know, or has she finished school yet? They always got something to say. But you have to like you, and I hope you do. Because if you like you, really don't a whole lot else matter. But if nothing else, it will attract and help other people to like you too. I like you. I'm TracyMac. Peace.
You've been listening to Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, brought to you in part by TracyMac Solutions for Life Institute, coaching and training services. No doubt you have enjoyed being in our world, and it doesn't have to stop here. Head on over to blackwomensworld.com. This is my personal invitation to you to stay connected with me on social media and more. I'd love to see you there, and I'm so grateful you came to be with me here. Invite someone else to join you in our queendom next time so they can feel the vibe of our tribe of Sister-Nistas and Sister-Nista lovers too. Remember to be kind, be authentic, be generous, be excellent, be grateful, and while you're at it, go ahead and be extraordinary, because that's just what Sister-Nistas do, on purpose through mission with passion and compassion. It's a Black woman's world, baby, and you, my Sister-Nista, are proof. I'm your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and your host, TracyMac. Wherever you are in the world, may you love and be loved by somebody. Peace.